You've made it. You're here. You clicked on the link. And, I might have said this before, but I'm extremely proud of you for doing that. Welcome to the show. If you haven't been here before, my name is Noah Wilburn. I am the host of Take It From Us. And in front of me, I have, honestly, I've known Mr. Craig for a long time. I have known you since I was 12, I think. I might have even been younger.
Probably younger.
Probably younger. And throughout my entirety of knowing this guy, one of the things that has always stood out to me is his willingness to do the work that needs to be done, and his love for the Lord and his love for other people. So, Craig, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for having a conversation with me, spending some time with me. I know you got a lot going on. What is it that you do? What do you do in life? How do you spend your time?
Well, right now my profession is commercial real estate. It's something that I got into in probably 2016, and I have a passion for it. I love what I do. I wake up every morning to a new challenge, so it's that fits me well.
Yeah,
I'm not a typical person that likes to go in and do the same thing every day. So I want change all the time, and commercial real estate brings that into my life for me.
Yeah, sounds like you like your days action-packed.
As much as possible.
I love it, man. I love it. So you're not originally from the Gainesville, Florida area, are you?
No, I moved here in 1989. I'm from South Florida originally.
Got it. What caused the move?
My ex-wife.
Okay.
Quite frankly, I lived in South Florida. Wasn't the best husband in the world, quite frankly. And my wife came up here to visit her sister in college and never came back. So she had my son with me. I had to mature a little bit and decided to be by my son. So I moved to Gainesville in 1989.
Gotcha. Wow. So yeah, I mean, there's obviously a lot to unpack there. And I was saying this before we started rolling, but one of the things that I feel like we really connect on is commitment, marriage. I mean, we're both married. Obviously, I'm very newly married.
Yeah.
Yay. But especially in my personal life and my marriage, there's been a lot of things that have happened, in the course of 2 years. And one of the things that I would love to know, man, is just what was commitment like for you, getting into like your first marriage?
My first marriage?
Yeah.
My first marriage, I wasn't committed, quite frankly. I wasn't raised with the values of marriage.
Yeah.
Quite honestly, my dad was a great man, but I don't think we ever had a role model to show us what marriage should look like. So when I got married, I was quite young.
How old?
I got engaged when I was 17, married when I was 18.
Wow.
And I thought that was great. I had a wife, I had a woman, I had a possession, quite frankly. She was busting her butt, working and trying to do everything she could, and I was out playing and, quite frankly, not being faithful and drinking a lot. I was a bad alcoholic.
Yeah.
So I wasn't committed at all. So she finally got smart and made another choice in her life and left me.
Got it. Yeah. What was, who were you in that time? Like you said, you were drinking, just like going out and just having fun essentially. I mean, what was your mentality at that point? Like who were you? Like what were you thinking,
Self-centered, immature,
Yeah.
non-believing, all about me brat. Does that sum it up?
Yeah. I guess that does. Yeah. I think that especially for a young person, whether it is back in those days or even now, influence, whether it be from a man that you look up to, the people that you're around, is always, is always the driver for how we end up making decisions and how we act. I mean, what would you say that your biggest influence was back when all that was happening?
Unfortunately, my influence back there was the South Florida mentality. When I grew up, we used to camp on the intercoastal, and it was a fun place. And then in the late 70s, early 80s, it became sex, drugs, rock and roll. So I was trying to keep up with my neighbors, quite frankly, and I had no idea what I was doing. I was in over my head.
Yeah.
And no role models. I would have killed to had a friend like your dad.
Yeah.
I did not have any peer role models at all. My friends were just as bad as I was, and we were. What can we do to top the last stupid thing we did? I guess.
Yeah, yeah, and that's something that's come up in previous episodes too. Is like the closest, the people that you surround yourself with, the closest 5 people, that's who you end up becoming. Yeah. And so, what it sounds like is what you're saying is the closest people around you, they were kind of like dumb, right? Not making good decisions. And so in turn that, influenced you to not make good decisions either.
I didn't know any better.
Exactly.
Quite frankly.
Yeah. Yeah. At what point, in this area that you're in, at what point did it occur? It was just like, hey, look, it's time to change. It's time to stop.
I would say it was a slow movement.
Okay.
And quite frankly, I moved to Illinois for a few years. I went and moved in with my older brother with the hopes my father and everybody encouraged me to do it, with the hopes of maturing, perhaps. But I went up there, and it was the same old, just different state. And so just drinking and women, and I was single, so it was even better, supposedly.
Right.
And I was away from my son, and I didn't realize what that meant to me. So luckily in 1989, I decided to come to Gainesville, and I was running from Illinois too, to be honest with you. I screwed up things there too, and it was time to run from Illinois. So that's when I came to Gainesville, and quite frankly, I went to work at the Shortstop gas station, and that's the place my ex-wife went to work when she left me.
Thank you to our sponsor, Elite Realty. Elite Realty is completely unmatched against the competition when it comes to their customer relations. Thank you, Elite Realty, for supporting our platform that's creating transparency around failure and helping people win all over the world. Thank you so much.
So I found myself around Tim Short, and then I got to know Mike Hill, and sort of like you said earlier, those are good men, by the way. They're work ethic, they're honorable, and I started surrounding myself with those type of men, and all of a sudden I realized I want to be like them. What's the common denominator in those men? And where they're probably not in church as much as they might want to be, but I determined they were Christ-centered men.
Yeah.
But I only determined that when I look back.
Right.
I didn't really know it at that time, quite frankly.
Yeah. Understood. I find this interesting, right? To be so deep into one way of thinking, right? Of just being that prideful, self-centered, a brat or whatever it was that you said.
Yeah.
To have that mindset, right? And to have situation after situation after situation happen to you, and then come across 2 men, and all of a sudden,
I wouldn't say it was
like that.
I would say it was the beginning
of
a transition.
Yeah.
I had a long path yet to go.
Of course.
Quite frankly. And that's why I say looking back. People,
right.
I always sort of, people go, what day did you receive Christ? Give me the time. What time was it? And I'm like, well, mine was a period of time.
Yeah.
And I think most people, that's the same way. I mean, I have my aha moment that I can look back and say, that's when he got in my life, I believe. But I think it was a progression of realizing, understanding.
Yeah, and that's just the sanctification process, right?
Yeah.
You know, that renewing of the mind. You know, I mean, I was in a very similar boat. You know, womanizer. You know, just always looking for the next booty to grab, essentially.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's what was important to me. And
And you look back, how shallow is that?
oh, extremely. It's so
You know?
it's so shallow. It doesn't. It's just a waste of time. It's a waste of time.
Well, that's, I tell young people now, a Christ-centered relationship is so sexy. And they go, what do you mean sexy? It's just sexy. It's just knowing that, and you will screw up.
Yeah.
Knowing that, you know, as long as you're honest, you'll be forgiven. You'll say something that's not appropriate to your wife or your partner. And that's sexy, knowing I can make mistakes and I'm still loved. Sort of like your relationship with Christ.
Francis Zeppetto, business maps coach extraordinaire. He's got knowledge on how to level you up for days. Francis, thank you for supporting our platform.
Yeah, and that's exactly what it is. And you you know, you end up changing over time. Like, again, it's just a consistent process of sanctification, of being cleansed, of being renewed, and ultimately changing your mind. Tell me more about, you know, the changing of your mind. Tell me more about, you know, you're working at that gas station. You know, we already have a pretty good idea of what, you know, who Craig was, right? And tell me more about this transformation. Tell me more about, you know, the specifics of what those conversations looked like for you.
Okay. A little bit emotional.
Okay.
Basically, I, at that point, still drinking heavily. That was my focus in life.
Yeah.
More or less homeless, quite frankly.
Right.
My ex-wife and her husband found the house for me to flop in. I was doing work for them to pay child support, to pay it off. Living in a car sometimes that my dad helped me buy. So, you know, nothing to stand up the next morning and say, I'm real proud of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Decided I didn't want love anymore. So I met a girl in a bar, and not very attractive, not a very nice person, and started hanging out with her and got her pregnant, quite frankly. And that really just blew my mind. I'm like, crap, I'm a crappy father now. Now I'm going to have another kid. And really bothered me. And I, you know, just going along, quite frankly, she ends up getting pulled over for driving on a suspended license and had a warrant out for her. And she was smoking pot and drinking while she's pregnant. And so I went and still drinking, still being me, went and met with the judge, which I found out you can't walk into their chambers and start yelling at them. They don't appreciate that. It was Judge Buck Curtin, actually, which we're friends now. Oh. And I told him the story, and he sentenced her to jail until the baby was born.
Wow.
And he essentially saved my daughter's life. And
wow.
That blew my mind.
Yeah.
You know, we got in the courtroom and he yelled at me for doing what I did. But he did that, which basically, and I tell him this day, you saved my daughter's life, no doubt.
Yeah.
So then my dad was going to retire, and he was an airline pilot. He got a hold of me and said, hey, I want you at my retirement party. And the sad part is the real reason I wanted to go is because it was going to be at the Boca Raton Country Club and free alcohol. Yeah, I'm going to go party. Yeah. You know, I had to borrow a car because mine wasn't working at the time. And he had to send me money for gas. He had a Western Union, made the money. And the whole time down there, I was driving, and I was just, my head. Yeah. What am I doing? Why am I doing this? I'm going to be a piece of crap. You know, I'm going to ruin another kid's life like I ruined my son's. And so I decided I was just going to get it up to about 100 miles an hour and be done. And got to about 120, just, you know, looking for something to hit hard that wouldn't hurt anybody else, quite frankly. And they kept putting the guardrails in front, so you can't do that. And so I made it all the way to Boca,
Yeah.
And the next day was his retirement party. And I was there drinking, and getting drunk. And my aunt came up to me and said, hey, we're worried about your drinking. So I told her to worry about something that affects her.
Mm-hmm.
Sometime shortly after that, my brother walks up to me and goes, hey, tomorrow, let's go to the beach. Let's chase women, get drunk, have a good old time.
Yeah.
Like the old days.
Yeah.
And I looked him dead in the eye and said, I'm never going to drink again. I've never touched a drop since that moment. So that's a God thing. So my opinion is the whole time I was thinking, he was listening.
Yeah.
I was driving, he was protecting me.
Yeah.
And then he gave me the courage. I've never touched a drop of alcohol since that day.
After that wedding party, it was just
no,
never.
my dad's retirement party.
I
have a picture that I can show you on my phone, and it's dated. And I'm holding a screwdriver in my hand. It's the last drink I ever drank.
Wow.
I just happened to find that picture, and I said, that's the last one, and I keep it on my phone.
Yeah.
So there's my moment. I didn't realize it at the time. I look back, and I realized my moment.
Yeah.
But then I decided, okay, I made that statement, and then all of a sudden I started working my butt off. Because, hey, if you're working hard, you can't drink.
True.
My daughter was born.
Yep.
I had to humble myself. I had to live in people's houses and protect my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to my dad one more time. Dad, you've trusted me 1,000 times. I need one more. Will you help me buy a house? He did it. I don't know why he did it. And I busted my ever-loving butt. And every commitment I made, I did. And it's amazing.
And this is
32 years ago, by the way.
And this is the change that happened. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that car ride. Golly. Let's talk about that car ride.
Mark III Lincoln. I can tell you the car, the color.
Yeah. And so what are the thoughts that are going in your head? Because here's something, like, especially with people my age. Like I was looking at some demographics yesterday. We got people that are like in between 24 to 30, I would say, that are mostly watching things like this. And one of the big things that affects our generation today is, and we were talking about this yesterday, is the mental health, the depression, the buildup of life situations that happen to us externally affects our internal, and we start thinking to ourselves, man, can we really do it? Can we, you know what I'm saying? Can I live the life that I know that I'm called to live? And for you, it got to the point where you were looking to end it, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, what were the statements or the questions or the things that were just going on in your head in that moment?
Basically, why am I in this position? If I was dead, it would be better for my daughter. It'd be better if she never met me. It would be better for everybody if I was gone. And the biggest thing that I didn't have, and I didn't have any men in my life. Zero.
Interesting.
Zero.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a man I could call up and say, hey, Craig, your dad, or Barry or Jeremy. I could sit here and just name them off. Max, all these guys that are in my life now. I could have called any one of those back then and said what I'm going through, and they would say, brother, man, let's get together and have a coffee. Let's talk through your options. Mm-hmm. I had nobody. Zero.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing. What I tell people now is surround yourself by good men, in my case, or good people. I mean, there's a lot of women I could call right now.
Of course.
But, I'm not isolating it, but, surround yourself by people you trust that you can tell your most intimate secret to, and it's protected.
Yeah.
And now I'm an open book. And what I do now is if I have a problem, I give it to 10 people. And I only own 1/10 of it. And we come up with a solution.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, but you need to have a brother in Christ especially.
Yeah.
Number one.
Yep.
And there's other men. I was talking to one when I walked in the door.
Mm-hmm.
I respect that man so much. And I could call him and we could share my problems and we could walk through them together.
Yeah.
That's huge. I have several men in my life now. I couldn't do what I do without those men.
Yeah.
Period.
I'm with it. Yeah, so in that car ride, a lot of the assumptions are, it would be better if that's something I noticed with your answer to that question is they were assumptions. Like
Right.
you were assuming.
Well, I had no
right?
idea.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah.
And
Ask my daughter today, she would have said, you were wrong.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah. Because that's my baby.
But isn't that so interesting? Because how much assuming do we do on a day-to-day basis when it comes to questioning whether or not we're doing the right thing? Oh, I'm not doing the right thing because blah 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 blah. Oh, I'm not good enough because this, that, and the other, right? And it's like, no, like where are you basing these assumptions off of?
Right.
And I think that's something that people need to ask themselves is, if I am making an assumption or a statement about myself, where is this coming from? Is this coming from a place of courage and my heart, essentially, or is this coming from a place of desperation and doubt and whatever other iniquity that we get hit with every day as humans? And personally, I'm really glad that you you decided to take the courage and to stop and to become the guy that you are today, man. So you get to this retirement party, right? And you've had this experience, and if I can ask, did you share this experience with anybody, or this was just to you, to yourself at that point?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't share it till later. And quite frankly, I mean, I come from a family of alcoholics.
Right.
So at some point when I finally shared with my dad that I was an alcoholic and I quit drinking, he was actually mad at me. And I don't know. I can only assume, well, if you're an alcoholic, I must be. Mm-hmm. I don't know the answer to that. I will tell you that later, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I remember my dad walking up to me and just saying, "I'm proud of you."
Wow.
And that was huge.
Yeah.
So
Is that something that never? Yeah.
yeah, he was a Marine.
There you go.
Yeah. So it's even when he was dying, it sort of became little. We had 90 days. I'd tell the other kids, let's see if we can get him. Bethy, the daughter, Daddy's little girl, which all, but the guys were like, see if we can get him to say I love you.
Yeah. Get that one last thing. That's awesome, bro. That's awesome.
You're cheering me up here, buddy.
Hey, man, that's what we do it for.
Yep.
So you're at this retirement party. You're keeping this to yourself, and I can only assume, that the emotions that you're feeling right now. Were you angry at this? Was there anger? Was there frustration? Was there
Confusion?
Okay.
Because I didn't know. I had no idea what was going on. I don't know why that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Where
it came from, or
zero.
Yeah.
I mean, my brother Scott, to this day, I go, you remember when I said that to you? He goes, yeah, but, that was a turning point in my life. He's not a believer. And I tell him, okay, hey, you followed through.
Right.
Right. He's like, you did that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't believe that. But,
yeah.
I quit smoking a year later, same deal.
Yeah.
Set him down, never touch him again.
Mm-hmm.
That's when my daughter Lori was born. So.
It's amazing what kids be.
Yeah. Preaching to the choir, aren't I?
Dude. Oh, my goodness, dude. I remember finding out when she was coming.
Yep.
And I ran from it for the longest time. And I remember getting drunk one night, and I was at the Gumby's on Archer, and I remember calling my brother up and just crying.
Yeah.
I was just wasted. I shouldn't have been driving either, but I remember calling him up and I was just like, I can't do this. I can't do this. And I just kept saying that over and over again. I can't do this. I can't. He was trying to like slow me down. I'm just like, and I just kept saying like all these things of like what I couldn't do.
Right.
And just letting this feeling of desperation just like take over my whole body, bro. And just absolutely just wailing and screaming and just like, and I just went home and I don't remember what happened when I got home, but I do remember he was talking to me, and I remember I just passed out on my bed, and I woke up the next morning, just absolutely, one,
Hungover. Yeah.
but two, I was just so like just depressed. Like I was just sad. Sad at the decision I had made that night before, and also just like unwilling to talk to anybody. Like my dad kept trying to call me, you know, my wife, she wasn't my wife at the time, but
Right.
she kept trying to call me, and you know, I was just like done. And so anyways, that feeling of just like that suppression and confusion and depression and doing things that are just out of the normal, whether it's trying to drive your car into a freaking tree or, you know, driving drunk, you know, like so
that was your car ride.
Yeah. It was. That was my car ride.
Yeah.
I remember it very, very, very well up to a certain point. And, but it's amazing, like what pain and like, and just again, like desperation, what it can drive humans to do. And, you know, and the things that we say about ourselves, but it's not true. None of it's true.
No.
None of it's true. And so at the point you're sitting there, your aunt tells you, hey, like, we're worried. And maybe, I don't know, did that spark something in you? And then you just decided that day, or?
I have no idea, because, I mean, it's sort of ironic. That was Aunt Margie. She didn't have any kids, and I was very rude to her. You know, basically told her to pound sand, worry about your own stuff. And Johnny, my uncle, passed away, and I went and visited him before he passed away. And Aunt Margie passed away. Well, you know, my pool house and my pool and all that.
Yep.
Yeah, well, that's Aunt Margie.
Really?
So she didn't have any kids, so she left us in the will. You know, but nice pool house.
It is a nice pool house.
So I built that because Aunt Margie left me some money, and she loved having people over. And I said, well, she would love this. Yeah. And, you know, we let the kids use it, and, you know, youth groups and all that. So I figured that's a way to say thank you to Aunt Margie. But it's pretty ironic. The lady I told to pound sand made sure I was in her will.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know, and they were very proud of me.
Yeah.
You know, my uncle, and they got to see me sober. And so, you know, that was very nice.
Good, man.
But pretty ironic.
Yeah, I know. Now we're doing. By the way, when's the next ping pong tournament? I'm trying to.
I don't know. You know, there's a hole in my wall still.
Oh, serious?
Yeah, Bill Gaston went right. He dove for a ball, went right through the wall, put a hole in the wall. And me being as sensitive as I am, I went and got a black marker and said, sign it. And it's still signed, Bill Gaston, dated.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
So I wanted to, you know, I say, hey, it is what it is. But I'm going to put,
we probably got to fix that pretty soon. We'll still leave the name there.
Oh, well, I got to do something. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
Huge transformation moment for you.
Yeah.
So we get out to this other side of, we start the journey, right?
Yeah.
So, and let me ask you this, and this is a common question I ask, but who is the Craig that got, what are the things about you that got left behind, good or bad, if there was any good?
That got left behind?
Yeah.
I don't think I left any good behind.
Okay.
I left a lot of bad behind.
Yeah.
You know, it's easy to blame a lot on alcohol. You know, I mean, I did that because I was drunk. You know, and recently we just lost another friend, but there was probably about 15 of us that were all pretty close. There's only 2 of us left. And I flew out to Arizona to visit my son, and my buddy was out there getting cancer treatment. So I went and visited with him, and within about 5 minutes of the visit, he's talking about the old times. And I was embarrassed. So, you know, the things I've done in the name of drunk, you know, I made advances at my friends' wives. I just wasn't a good human being.
Yeah.
So I left that behind. I brought the memories with me. And, you know, I hope by the stupidity that I did back then, I can maybe coach someone younger.
Yeah.
So that's what I do now.
Got it. Yeah. So there's just a lot of stuff that you left behind. And so at the start of this transformation, it sounds like you're a little more open to receiving and receiving, you know, whether it be advice from the 2 men that we referred to earlier or anybody else that was able to speak into your life.
I would say more absorbing.
Absorbing. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to use that word because I still wasn't ready for verbal commands.
Got it.
I was willing to absorb what you're doing. I was willing to mimic you, but don't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
I was still headstrong. So I would watch them. To this day, I love watching videos on how to do woodworking or how to do something. I learn like that. If you start telling me how to do it, I'm going to look at you and go, stop.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't, and you know, I think we did one Bible study together, the Truth Project.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that because I don't like being talked to and pointed at. To this day, you should. No, I shouldn't. But yeah, so I would say I absorbed. Through osmosis, I got around these guys, and I to this day, I love being around good men. And I steal something from every one of them. I learned.
Yeah.
You know, I learned a lot from your dad. He was my all-tell guy back in the day. That's how long we go back. Mm-hmm. And your dad, I really think the whole house could be on fire, and your dad go, yeah, but here's the good news. We're going to build a whole new house.
Yeah.
This is cool. How exciting. You know, I'm like, no, but the house is on fire. Yeah, but check this out. Yeah. You know, and I love being around your dad because of that. I'm like, you know, no, I mean, when he went to Keller Williams, you know, that would scare most people. And he's like, what an opportunity. So I steal that from your dad, by the way. He doesn't know that, so don't tell him, you know. But I do. I love being around men like that because if you take a little bit from all those men you admire, you're going to build quite a man.
Yeah.
Quite frankly.
Yeah.
And learn from their mistakes and listen to them when they're talking about their shortcomings. Because even your father's got shortcomings.
Oh, yeah.
And, you know, we all do. But you listen, and how did they handle those shortcomings? How did they steer in a different direction? And you can use that. And then call on those people when you need them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I love that word, absorbing. I was absorbing. I love that. So who are you now? Like after all of it, like who are you now and what do you attribute it to?
I would say, you know, I mean, there's in the past 32 years, there's a story that many volumes of a book couldn't probably fill, and most people would say, bull crap, you're lying, and that's fine. You know, I worked my butt off, and I realized hard work will accomplish a lot of things, so go for that. I became a single father of 3. I mean, I had yet another baby, and the person I had, you know, same woman, 2 children, not a nice person. Ended up having to go to court, became a single father, and I had my oldest son now living with me. So single father of 3, and I'm like, okay, now I'm working hard, single father of 3, oh, this is fun, pile more on.
Right.
So I actually reached out and got a lot of help. And I don't even know if you know this, but, you know, Michelle, I hired her as my nanny.
Oh, yeah. That is hilarious. Michelle is his wife,
current wife.
Current wife, yes.
27 years we celebrated last month.
That's amazing, man.
And so that's what I'm saying. You know, when you look back, and she was in a very abusive relationship, and someone actually came to me. He was an alcoholic and drugs. They came to me wanting me to help him be a better person. Pretty ironic, huh?
Yeah.
So long and short.
I got you. I know a way to help you.
Yeah. Well, and long and short, they got her out of her abusive situation. Yeah. A mutual friend of ours, and she needed a place to live. I needed help. It worked out. We fell in love. And so again, by the mercy of God, he doesn't give me the heads up of what's coming up because I'd screw it up.
Yeah.
But when you look back, I can see his hand over everything.
Right.
I mean, like, I am too stupid to organize half the stuff that has happened in my life.
Amen to that.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
amen to that.
There's no way.
Yeah.
You know, Michelle and I were a perfect fit. And we had a child together, Stephen. That's where she's actually just landed in the UK a little bit ago. She's over there seeing him.
Nice.
But it was amazing. So the man I am now, I'm thankful, follower of Jesus. Still stubborn, trying to be humble. That's my struggle. I'm a control freak. So for me to sit there and step back, even if it's like sound at church, I ran the sound at church for a number of years, and I decided we're going to put all digital in, and that's where this analog guy steps back finally.
Right.
And for me to sit there and hear something that needs to be adjusted even, just sit there. And I tell everybody, you should be so proud of me. I didn't stand up.
Yeah,
they're like, why? I said, because I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
And so I would say I'm thankful just looking back. And during '08, my wife and I, we had a guy rip us off for a ton of money. '08 happened. We lost everything.
Yeah.
I mean, everything, retirements, everything. And I remember looking at my wife going, as long as I got you in a single wide, I'm happy. And I meant it.
Yep.
Like, I drive an '07 Lexus right now. I'm good. I mean, I don't owe a penny to anybody. Thankful. I recovered from '08. I love what I do. Thankful. Every day. I just adopted 2 daughters. I mean, I have a 12 and 14-year-old girls.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful they're in my life. People say, well, it's so great of you doing that. They don't understand how much of a blessing it is to me. It'd be like if I gave you a brand new car, would I be saying, hey, that's so great of you driving that new car? No. I mean, I get the opportunity to raise these children, give them something they've never had. How cool is that? God's given me that opportunity.
Yeah.
To love someone unconditionally.
Mm-hmm. Same way that he loved us, man.
I'm like, wow. I mean,
Yeah.
and he's got a sense of humor. Because about 2 weeks before we got the girls, Michelle and I were standing there in front of the coffee pot just talking, and we literally said, we wish we had the patience, the money, the time that we have now when we're raising our kids. 2 weeks later, they were in my house. Be careful, buddy.
I'll tell you the power of words, man. Let me tell you.
But serious, 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
that's
in
incredible.
my house.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
The I don't think it is said enough, but our words do hold a lot of power.
Yeah.
And I mean, God spoke a word and the earth was created,
Yeah.
right? We say all the time that, yeah, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and actually people end up doing it, right? So there's a lot of power in our words. But so what, and we'll wrap it up with this, but with this part. But what do you let's just say we got people sitting here watching you, and they are in a place of desperation. Doesn't matter the situation, doesn't matter the story. What can they do?
Look at people you respect and trust, even if they're not your most intimate friends. Get close to them. Hopefully close enough to have a conversation with them. If you talk to the people you've been talking to, you're going to get what you got. So you have to change the people around you. I would always say Christ-centered. It's, I think, a lot easier for someone to talk to someone that's a believer in Christ than to talk to Jesus himself when you're not a believer. Does that make sense?
To talk to somebody, say one more time.
If you know someone that believes in God, you can talk to that person. If you're not a believer, it's hard for you to believe you can talk to God.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, if you don't believe you can talk to God, find someone that knows they can and talk to that person. Baby steps. Don't try to, it's like anything else. If I told you to jump off the bridge and you're on a bungee rope, but I'm not going to show you the rope. You just have to believe that there's a rope.
Mm-hmm.
How hesitant are you going to be?
Very.
But if I told you, hey, Noah's going to jump off the bridge, see his rope? And when he's done, he's going to tell you all about it. What would you do? Wait to hear from Noah.
Mm-hmm.
So why not talk to someone that believes in God if you don't believe in God? Or if you don't believe he can help you, maybe that person has the wisdom to lead you in that direction, and then eventually you can have that conversation yourself. So get around good people.
Yeah.
God puts people in your path for a reason. Even the irritating people that keep saying, come to church. Let me have coffee with you. Why do they want to have coffee with me? Why do they want to have lunch with me? Because they own you for a half hour to 45 minutes. They want to have a conversation with you. Accept those offers. If people are toxic, get away from them. Even if they're your family or your best friends. For a period of time, you need to get away from them until you're strong enough to have that conversation with them, quite frankly. So that's my advice.
Yeah. Oh, man. What an episode. Oh my goodness. Y'all, get around people that have your best interests in mind and that know Jesus. That's
how simple
line.
it is.
That's the bottom line, man. Get
Yeah.
around people that have your best interests in mind and that know Jesus. And there's some people out there that we get around that probably don't even realize that they're hurting us, right? And sometimes it's those people that we might love them, but we just got to love them from far away. There's a plethora of situations and things that, oh my gosh, I wish we had the time to cover. But bottom line is, no matter how desperate you might feel, you are never the things that you say that come from desperation. And you might say, oh, I can't do it. I can't be the person that this person wants me to be. I can't do, whatever. Like, you're none of those things. I'm an idiot, blah, blah, blah.
You're not hanging on a cross with nails in your hands.
Thank you.
I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
That should be the most hopeless feeling in the world.
People jeering at you, yelling at
think
you,
about
spitting
that.
on you. I mean, and you're just hanging wide open. Like, you're not any of those things, man. You are a human created in the image of God. You are somebody that has purpose. You are somebody that is meant for something. And it never happens instantly.
Oh, no.
But it's a journey that only you can decide to go on. And
it never ends, quite frankly, till the day he takes you home.
no, it doesn't.
We're learning every single day.
Every single day. It is a consistent process of renewal. So stay encouraged, be encouraged. I really hope that by listening to Craig's story that you receive something from it, and that you hold on to the hope that we all do have in Jesus. So stay blessed. We'll see you soon, Craig. Thanks for hopping on. And
Thanks for having me.
Just tearing it wide open, man.
Yeah, man. Thanks for bringing out my emotions. I needed that this morning.
You're welcome. God bless.
My wife's
We'll see
not
you
even
soon.
home, so I can go cry on her shoulder now.
Oh, sorry. See y'all later.